Previously on the Frontier Farmer, we've got to get busy creating our field, and we've now got 3 pallets worth of potatoes. We've got all these logs stacked up here from last time. We've now got some much bigger and more efficient equipment that's going to help us with the loading this last volume of logs, and then we can take it to get sold. Now the wheel loader's done a fantastic job being able to cart these logs, so yeah, this is going to clear up space for our first field to go in, and we can get this tedded into hay. Let me get this all cracked into some nice channels. There we go, we are away. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Frontier Farmer. We are now in November, and yet we are losing the daylight hours. We're having to start slightly later at 9, and still looking a little bit dark if you ask me. Things are looking good. We've got lots of potatoes growing. We've been keeping the open garden well stocked up, so yeah, we've got a huge volume of pallets of potatoes now, so we're probably going to have to sell some. Last time we got this area all cleared of brush and grass, and we converted the grass into hay, which we sold. So yeah, we had to make a few equipment purchases, which we have now got. We've got quite a funky forage wagon and a mower, tedder and a windrower. So yeah, we've got grass making capabilities in the homestead, which is fantastic. Today we've got a switch focus to pretty much field prep for the crop we want to put in. I did want to put in barley because I wanted to get some chickens on the homestead. However, we have missed the window, which is October, for planting barley. So we are going to have to get the field prepped, but hold out drilling anything until the next season in the new year. And it's probably going to have to be sorghum, which we can sow in April. And that can be used for chicken feed instead of barley or wheat. So I'm heading over to the distribution centre first of all, because we need to purchase a plough so we can get creating a field. And out of the ploughs that are available to us, we've got this IMT 756.30, and it requires 80 horsepower, and it's got a width of 1.4 metres. So not very big at all, but it is going to be a plough that we can use with the limited horsepower we've got. And it costs $2,500, so not bad at all in terms of price. So let's hitch up to the old girl. It's rather old style plough, which suits our tractor quite nicely. Seem to be picking all red and case oriented equipment, which is pretty good. That sits quite nice. Right, back at the homestead, and you notice that we've actually created quite a bit of track around the log cabin and around the garden, so it's looking a bit more used now, and where we drive is actually just dirt track now. So here is our field space, and of course it's not a very big field at all, but it is going to suit us quite well for our first field on our small scale homestead farm. And I've got to start by setting out a boundary, so let's switch create fields on, and then I want to be lowering this plough, and yet we've got field stones turned on, so they are going to appear. And as far as I'm aware for ploughing, I think when you're using a plough like this, you need to be turning the ground towards the inside of the field, and work it that way. So that's why I'm going clockwise around this field, and we'll do a nice headland, and then I'll break into rows, but the rows will all be sort of focused around turning the ground in towards the centre of the field, because you can't rotate this plough. This particular plough is too small and it's not got the capability to rotate, so we'll have to work from side to side. But here we go, we're creating our first field, which is a good feeling. So I'm going to make sure we get a nice even field laid out. It's not going to be a fully square field, we don't want it all square. Yeah, we'll get it all ploughed, and then afterwards it's probably going to be on to liming, and then after that dealing with the stones. So I'll see you then. Last tiny little patch that I missed, and that's all of the field ploughed up. And it's a long job when you're using a small plough, but yeah, I'm quite happy with how that's turned out, and it's good shape. I'd say it's around an acre in size, but that's just my guesstimate. And yeah, it's been quite enjoyable, quite therapeutic getting it all ploughed and trying to turn what is a non-straight field into nice straight plough lines. But yeah, we managed to do it, so pretty proud with that. So there's some rather chunky rocks in there, and I'm not going to deal with them yet because we do plan on cultivating that field, and that might produce some medium and small sized rocks which we'll have to clear out as well. So I'm going to leave the stone picking till later on in the process. But next, that field is going to need some lime, as it's a freshly ploughed field. So there we are, our first field in the dark forest, and it is ploughed, this lovely little purple section here. And of course it is showing needs lime, and it's got some stones in there. Bit of a mixture actually of large and medium sized ones. So yeah, that's our next task. We are going to have to get something that can spread lime, a fertilizer spreader to be more precise, that can deal with solid fertilizer and solid lime. So I'm going to go and purchase probably the lime first of all, so we can get that back here. And to do that, I'm going to be buying a big bag lifter for the tractor, which is going to come in handy for carting various goods as we need them. So we're going to be buying this lizard rack for 2 big bags, which is $2,500, quite handy. And then we'll be buying 2 bags of lime, 4,000 litres, which is $700, which is pretty cost effective. There we go, we've got our big bag lifter, which we can attach to the back. And if we line up to the big bags, we should be able to lift them up. And hopefully this tractor's got enough weight on the front to cart these 2 big bags. Let's lower that away and see if we can line up and attach the first one. And attach the second one. Fantastic. And hopefully if we lift those up... Well, the tractor's lifted up a little bit at the front, but it's still got some weight there. So we can cart this line back. Now, I do have plans for the future. Doing a couple of little wheelies now. Yeah, in the future we will look to create lime from stones, because we of course can crush stones to create lime. However, I'm just thinking about the funds of the homestead. We haven't quite got the funds to do that, and I guess there is talk that we could create some sort of lime production facility here in the dark forest. Probably be a small operation to start with, but it could grow quite big depending on how big the forest farm grows. But for now we will just buy some lime and utilise that. Back, and I think we will stash the lime somewhere up against the open garden, because that might need a little bit of lime as well. There we go, that's both dropped off and pushed back. And park up the big bag lifter now and go over and get something that's going to help us spread all that lime. And we are going to be getting this Strumike S350L, hope I've pronounced that right, and that can take 350 litres and it's only got a small range of 10 metres, which is perfect for us. So that's going to cost us 1200. Let's pick that up, nice size for this tractor, and get back to the homestead so we can top up with lime. So we can weave round to the right past the well and the hunting pulpit and swing round to grab some lime. Now I'm liking how the homestead is going so far. Let me know what you think and if there's any improvements we can make, but it's fairly basic starting out with. There we go, 350 litres of lime in there. We can head on into the field. It won't take too long to cover this, but it's only a 10 metre spreader, so we will get it done nonetheless. Let's head on in and just check our widths. Don't want to be spraying too much lime towards the log cabin and wasting it. So I think probably here's a good place to start. Don't want to lower it, I want to turn it on. There we go. Okay, modest width. And a little bit smaller than I was anticipating, but that's okay. It's going to do us quite nicely. Let's get this all covered in lime. Phew. There was a job I thought was going to be quick, but didn't really calculate the fact that the 350 litres is not going to go very far at all for lime, because you do normally chew through lime. It needs a lot to cover the ground. I imagine this spreader will be a lot better for fertiliser, which will not be consumed as fast as lime. But yeah, as far as lime goes, this spreader is not ideal, so I think it's something that will probably be upgrading quite fast on the homestead. But for now we can drop that off there and leave it. So next we want to really cultivate in the lime that we've just spread over the field. So I'm going to go and purchase a cultivator. That should bring up any other loose stones that are in the field. And then I think we'll see about stone clearing and possibly some rolling as well. So I think this is the perfect cultivator for the job. The Case IH45, it needs 50 horsepower and has a width of 4 meters. It's $5,000, but the Case Farnham that we've got features on the picture for this cultivator mod, so it's only right that we get it, and I think there's a little extension that we can get put on the back. Can have the spades in red, but I think the contrast of the white is actually quite nice. So let's buy this for 5,000. Here's the cultivator, looking rather nice and much wider than our plough, so it's going to be a shorter job. Now we have got a good amount of funds in the bank, but I am having to be careful how much I spend, just because I know that we've got quite a few purchases to make to support the first field. We've of course got all the equipment we've bought up till now. We're going to need to get a seed drill, a roller, and of course some means of harvesting, which is going to be expensive. So as we are only prepping the field now, because we can't really plant anything until April, over winter we are going to have to get busy doing some logging to try and raise some money for what we need in the next season in terms of equipment. Right, let's get to cultivating. Now we're lined up so we can lower away. So this is going to turn the lime in and leave a much better surface for drilling, but we will also probably roll. And I don't know, but it looks like there's less rocks appearing, so I don't know if this is sort of driving in the smaller medium-sized rocks. We can take a look at the map once we're done. Yeah, I'm going to get this all cultivated, and I'll see you when we're finished. There we go, that is cultivated, and I think we have still got our large and our medium stones in the field, and they're a lot more visible now, which is helpful. But in hindsight I probably should have stone cleared beforehand, because I think we've probably damaged the cultivator more than we needed to by forcing it to drag through those big hefty stones. But nonetheless we can get that repaired, so that's not too big of an ordeal. But next time I think we'll look to stone clear prior to doing any sort of cultivating. So let's get this parked up, and then it is indeed stone clearing that we're going to move on to next, and then we'll see if we can roll the field, probably as the last process of our field prep today. And yeah, that's dropped off quite nicely. So let's go and get our stone pick up, and then yeah, it'll be on to doing some rolling. Frequent visitor to the depot now, but that's because we've got lots of equipment needs, and actually I think we can repair the farm all whilst we are here. Yeah, that's repaired. $26 in materials, so that's not too bad. And for stone pickers, we're going to go for the Cleveland Stone Fork 180, and that can carry 1400 litres of stones, and it only needs 50 horsepower. So this is the only stone fork that we can get that the farmer will be able to cope with. So this will mount to the rear 3-point linkage. There we go. And we'll have to reverse to pick up the stones. Now I did look to see if I could get a stone bucket for our wheel loader, but all the stone buckets seem to be for front loaders only. So I could obviously get a front loader conversion tool for our wheel loader, but for the time being I thought we'd start out with this rear 3-point linkage stone fork for the Farnham and see how that goes. Right, here we are back at the field. So let's lower this, and I think we might have to tinker with it to get it into the right angle. Need to pitch it downwards. There we go, and see if this can pick up stones. No, it's still too high. So unfortunately, no matter how much I pitch it, this stone fork will not pick them out of the ground. So I'm going to have to replan what we do and see what we can come up with to pick the stones out of the ground. So come up with a method to resolve the issue, and we are going to be selling this Kveland log fork, unfortunately, because it doesn't seem to pick them up, even though it probably should do. So yes, there is another item that we can purchase that is going to do the job quite nicely. That tool is going to be the Lizard 285 stone picker, and we can select a 3-point linkage for the back, which is going to attach to the tractor. So we've not lost out too much there with that purchase and sale. So that's not too bad, and of course I had to get this stone picker in case red to match the tractor. So let's journey back, and hopefully this will solve our issue of picking up the stones. We are back, and let's get lined up. I think I'm going to need this, we'll need to make it pitch perfect for it to work correctly. That picked up the stone quite nicely, and with a little bit of tweaking we're not getting much wheel spin, and it's picking up the stones but not depositing them, and yeah, that's a bit of an issue. We don't want it to tilt so it then drops the stones back on the floor. So this is a bit of a impromptu way to stone pick without using a modern stone picker, and nonetheless it's doing a job. And I think it's actually changing the ground texture to, well, I don't know if there is a stone picked texture. I'll be interested to see what it says the state of the ground is when we're finished. But yep, I'm going to be whizzing around here getting all these stones picked up. I think just by lifting and dropping the rear, it's reset the position ever so slightly. So tractor's doing a bit of a wheel spin, so we might have to just tilt it back up a little bit. This is all sort of a trial and error because it's not a modern stone picker. So I'm going to get this scene to get all these stones collected up, and in regards to the stones, we are just going to be ditching them in a pile somewhere. We might turn it into a gravel track or something like that, because we haven't got any means to turn these stones into lime for the time being. Yeah, leave this with me, and I'll see you when we're finished. Fantastic! That's taking care of the stones, and quite cost effectively if I do say so myself. We'll pitch that up and raise it. We've got 597 litres of stones, and as I mentioned, we are just going to be tipping this somewhere so we can make a gravel path out of it or whatnot. I think I'll actually put it in front of the homestead so we can make a nice little gravel path to our front door and maybe around the front. We'll see. So let's just dump this over here for now. Perfect. So we can park the stone picker back up. Done a good job, and for a very fair price. So yeah, it's always nice finding something that works. Didn't take too long either. Now I was interested to see what the status of the terrain was going to be post doing the stone picking, and it looks like it's turned some areas into seedbed. I think that was from the stone picking, or it's naturally turned to seedbed already. So that's the next step that we are going to do. We are going to buy a roller and roll the ground so it's ready for seedbed. And yeah, in honesty, I probably should have stone picked right after ploughing, just so we didn't have to sort of cultivate and damage the cultivator with some of the stones. But yeah, nonetheless, still managed to do all the steps we needed, just in probably slightly the wrong order. But nevertheless, let's go get a roller and we can get that field all nicely turned into a seedbed, ready for next year for us to plant our sorghum. And because we've ploughed, I think the weed potential is going to be very low, so we're unlikely to get weeds in that field. I am saying with my fingers crossed, but if we do get some weeds, then we'll deal with them in the new year. So let's go get a roller. Now for rollers, there's this Lizard Ring Roller 4000 old, because it looks very old, but fits the bill for our frontier farming. 60 horsepower it needs, and it's $3,100 with a width of 4 meters. So that's going to fit the bill quite nicely for us. Look at this rust bucket, but it comes mounted on some nice logs, which is quite befitting of the forest that we live in. So let's get this old rust bucket over to the field and get it rolled to turn into seedbed. Roll in the last strip and I'll go to the end so we cover up our own little tractor tracks. But that has worked surprisingly well, but very difficult to see where we have and haven't been. In the forest light it is quite dark. Let's get this roller parked up now, and that is our first field ploughed, limed, cultivated, stone picked, and then now rolled. So it should all be nice seed bed for our first crop in the new year, which will be sorghum for chickens. And yeah, that's going to enable us to get some chickens in so we can get some eggs created for ourselves and also for the market. Fantastic. So taking a look at the map, we can see that's all a nice seed bed now, and it is also partially fertilised because we mowed the ground, the grass here, and there's a couple of patches that needed lime, but that's pretty negligible. So we will have to fertilise this field to get it up to scratch, and that will all be sort of next year once we get a seed drill as well. There we go, our lovely field. So we will be leaving that until the new year. And over winter, because winter is fast approaching, we are going to have to turn our attention to some logging and some expansion, because those are the only real things that we can do over winter other than tending to the open garden and the bees. And we will look to build some sort of yard space, because we've got a lot of equipment purchased now and we need to stash it somewhere before it gets too cold and it's going to degrade over the cold months. But that is it for today. I hope you have enjoyed watching. If you have, remember to drop a like, and if you've got any tips, tricks, or things you'd like me to do, then feel free to leave a comment. Until next time on The Frontier Farmer, I will catch you then. Cheers all, bye bye.